and I'm leading international projects at Generation Startup Corporate Accelerator. It's the largest startup accelerator in Russia and CIS countries, and also a corporate innovation development platform. So within our tech talks, we are discussing with industry leaders key subjects relevant to diverse technologies. And especially, we would like to provide you an overview of the Russian tech landscape. These series are sponsored by Sequence VC. And I'm glad to invite today Aliya Bayumi from Sequence VC and our speaker, Eldar Khamitov, who is investment director of G1 Ventures. Hi, Aliya. Hi, Eldar.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today. So before we start, Aliya, please make an introduction of Sequence VC for our participants.
Sure. Okay. So hi, my name is Aliya. I'm a business analyst at Sequence Ventures. Sequence is a VC, and we specialize in investing in early and seed stage startups in the European region. We're actually located in Egypt, but we're deploying all our capital into tech-based projects in the European region. So we invest in three primary verticals: AI, quantum computing, and blockchain. One of our main focuses, blockchain, which is the topic of today's webinar, is because we believe that blockchain has the ability to revolutionize many sectors in our daily life today, such as banking, real estate, and many other things, which is why we decided to invest in it, as we believe it has huge potential to grow. That's it.
Thank you. Thanks, Aliya. And it's always interesting to have this international overview of the technologies. Today, we're going to focus, as you mentioned, on blockchain technologies. And for this, we invited Eldar. Eldar, please make also a brief introduction of you and G1 Ventures.
Yeah, hello everyone. Ani, thank you for the introduction. So G1 Ventures is an active venture investor with core focus on fintech and blockchain spaces. We target seed to Series A investment rounds and doing our investments primarily in Europe, but also have several deals in US and UK. We have pivoted our fund to blockchain space 2.5 years ago. And since most of our team members have traditional finance background, we started with focus on the projects that bridge this digital finance world with traditional finance. So far, we have covered several verticals in this space, including onboarding to crypto, digital banking, digital asset custody and wallets, both for institutional needs and personal usage, exchanges, both centralized and decentralized, and RegTech. We usually invest in equity rather than tokens. However, starting from this year, we have also participated in several tokenized projects. And so far, we led all the deals we have done, and we're trying to be as involved in our portfolio's company's operation as possible. Speaking about myself, I'm an investment director at G1, responsible for sourcing and evaluating of new opportunities. I have more technical background, so I graduated from Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. Then I got my scientific degree in mathematical economy with the thesis related to peer-to-peer insurance and mutual insurance. I worked for several years in Russian family office. We have invested in local fintech startups at the angel stage. Then since 2016, I'm full-time involved in the blockchain and crypto space. I managed two crypto funds, first in Russia and second in Great Britain, called NKB Token Fund. Then I joined G1 as the junior partner and blockchain space expert. So I think it's pretty all about me.
Yeah, thanks for this introduction. And I know that you've prepared very interesting content for today's discussion. So yeah, a little announcement for our participants. You can ask questions to Eldar, and we will have them after the discussion, after the talk, or during the discussion of some topics. And before we start, Eldar, could you just make also an overview of the actual state of the blockchain space?
Sure. For my personal view, I think the industry has come a long way, passing the last several years, and reach some kind of qualitative transformation. How it was. The initial crypto boom of 2017-18 attracted a lot of entrepreneurs at the sector and provide them with initial capital. So it led to some kind of explosive growth of the number of startups and companies in this sector at those times. And then next few years, usually called crypto winter during 2018 and 2019, this period tested these companies for sustainability because the attention to the segment decreased. Volatility of cryptocurrency make it harder to operate. And many of those startups leave the space, but some survive. And today, after several years from this big wave of new companies, I think we can finally talk about first significant results. We see big breakthroughs in key application areas such as payments, tokenization of the assets. Maybe you know this year there was a boom of decentralized finance space. Also, I think such global concepts as self-sovereign identity or Web 3.0, they find their first practical applications. As the industry matures and those applications find their validation, we see how the attitude of the corporate segment is changing. So according to our estimations, this year, 7 of top 10 investment banks and 9 out of 10 largest technical groups like Apple, Samsung, and so on have invested into blockchain startups. Other important thing is regulation that is rapidly developing. And as for now, I think almost all Western countries have some kind of crypto-friendly regulation. And some of them, for example, US already allowed their commercial banks to provide their clients with access to the digital asset space. So I think it is a huge progress for the industry reached in a very short period of time.
Okay, yes, definitely. But actually, I would like to notice that besides some cryptocurrencies and speculation stories about blockchain, that's true that we don't hear much about successful blockchain use cases becoming mainstream. Do you have any ideas why actually the situation is like this?
Yes, I agree with you that we haven't seen so far some very significant areas where blockchain touches our everyday life. And there are a couple of reasons why it is so. The first thing we all have to understand is that blockchain technology is not like artificial intelligence or, for example, I don't know, virtual reality. It could not be successfully and efficiently implemented within one company or even within one industry. It is all about the networks. It is all about cooperation of many of entities. And that's one of the reasons why is it slow. The second fundamental point is that there is no thing that you can do without blockchain, but can do with blockchain. So anything that you can do with blockchain, you can do without blockchain. And here we should probably dive deeper into the value added by this technology. As for me, there are two key points. that blockchain brings to the world. The first one is something called decentralization. And the second one is an ability to create properly economic incentives. So I'll explain what I mean by this. When we speak about decentralization, we mean that we can organize processes without intermediaries and cost associated with such intermediaries. The simplest example, if I want to, for example, send money to my friend in a centralized way, I would ask my bank to do it, and then my friend receives this money in his bank, and both these intermediaries will charge some fee, of course, and of course it will require some trust. Blockchain allows to exclude such intermediaries and, for example, send money to my friend without any additional steps directly peer-to-peer. But that's not, it's only a half of the thing. The second half is the ability to create proper economic incentives. What it means, when you operate within the decentralized system, there are always a lot of different agents that plays different roles in such systems, and you need to be sure that every agent act his role in a proper way and have a proper motivation to execute in a honest way. This is usually under-related part of the technology. So let me explain on a simple example with some particular case. For example, let's take a look on such service as cloud storage. It could be operated in a centralized way. For example, I can store my files in Dropbox in a centralized way, and it works without any blockchain. And I can do it in a decentralized way. The most known storage application, decentralized application, is of course torrents. And it is completely decentralized, and it works without any blockchain for tens of years. What blockchain can bring to this, for example, use case? What's the problem of BitTorrent or just torrent? It is very practical to use it for some public data, popular data, for example, to download pirate movie. But I cannot use it to store my personal data or unpopular data. I don't even speak about privacy now. I'm speaking about only incentives. Why I can't store, for example, my wedding video using torrents? Because nobody wants to store it on their PCs. And what blockchain can do in this case? It can provide those users who provide their storage capacity to the network with the economic incentive. So I can, with the blockchain here, I can pay some little fee that will be distributed through all the agents who provide their disk space for storing my files. Both parts are important, decentralization and economic incentives. Without economic incentives, blockchains are functionality is quite limited, and this economic part is often related to some regulation issues. The part of decentralization, pure decentralization, is just a creating of decentralized database that is usually not very useful and always slower than the centralized one. Usually it's called like private or corporate blockchains. To be effective, we need to to operate with both sides of this technology. And it is possible only within public blockchain space. And as I said, it is usually not so simple as it could be.
Okay, so to sum it up, what are actually the current limitations for a wider technology development or adoption?
I would say that except these fundamental ideas, there are very practical limitations. Usually, we're speaking about scalability issue, about UX issue, and regulation. So speaking about the scalability, probably you know that blockchain is very slow. So for example, Bitcoin network can process only 7 transactions per second. And of course, it's not enough for any massive adoption and any practical use case. This problem is solving, it's pure technology problem, and we see every year new approaches for solving this issue. And we just need some time for technology to become major. This is the issue that everybody knows, I think, but there is one more issue that is usually undervaluated. It is something called UX issue.
Yeah, Eldar, and I know that you have some slides to show, so do not hesitate, you can show it.
Okay, thank you. I would do it definitely. What I mean by UX issue. Mm-hmm. When you're operating with decentralized system, you have to take all the responsibility of your actions by yourself. Again, simple example. When you use your credit card issued by the bank, and for example, you lose your PIN code or the card itself, you can always go to bank and ask bank to reissue this card or restore your access to your funds. In decentralized world, if you lose your private keys, you will lose your funds, your account, your data, everything forever, and no one can help you to restore this access. That's only one problem, and there are a couple of such problems. And the problem is that the majority of the population isn't ready for such experience. Maybe we need a century to for population to become ready for such experience. But also there are some hybrid approaches. For example, one of our portfolio companies try to solve this issue. But I think this one is one of the most important and hardest things. And the last third thing I would mention here is the regulation, and maybe I can show a slide here. So the good thing is that the problem is with the regulation is almost solved, because as I have mentioned before, implemented crypto-friendly regulation. And I think this picture is quite illustrative because all the, okay, it's quite illustrative. To conclude it, let me provide you the example that I really like. What's the problem of blockchain? Why, when you're talking about blockchain, no one believes you? Let's imagine that we can go back in time to early 19th. And for example, I try to explain somebody that in 15 years, we will not see, we will not watch TV. We will watch some website called YouTube in internet on our home PCs. And everybody who wants can create his own channel and share his content. These people from early 90s wouldn't believe me. They would say that first, internet is too slow. It's hardly to download image for the internet, and you speaking about video content. Secondly, they would say that PCs, home PCs are very expensive, and it's very complex to operate with home PC. Only limited amount of people who are technical geeks or very rich people have PCs and working with them. And finally, they would say that how could it be that everyone will launch their own TV channel? Because to launch TV channel, you need a license issued by the government because you are media. So it's impossible. I think exactly the same questions we have today about crypto and decentralized finance space.
Okay, it's very interesting. Yeah. And thanks for these examples. However, I think that we will have some promising use cases, and definitely we have actively developing areas regarding blockchain technologies. So it would be great if you can mention some of these areas you think most prominent.
Okay, again, let me share some slides. So I will mention 4 or 5 areas. These are use cases that for the moment gain the most significant traction as for me. So the first case is of course payment and value transfer. This is something, it's the most native use case for blockchain because Bitcoin, as you know, the whole idea was to create peer-to-peer electronic cash. And where we are 10 years later. I would mention 4 directions of this case, and the case itself is the task to transfer value instantly from somebody to somebody without any intermediaries, globally and cheap. There are different approaches how to solve it, this task. The most known and the earliest one was cryptocurrencies. Like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or for example, even Telegram open network. It has its own limitations, for example, volatility or regulatory issues. But even with such limitations, I think the fact that today more than $5 billion of value is transferred with blockchain and cryptocurrencies. It's a huge amount of money. Of course, most of this volume is related to the pure speculation. Next thing that is extremely rapidly growing, especially this year, is stablecoins. There are different approaches to this space, from completely decentralized like DAI to stablecoins issued by a particular company. For example, JP Morgan coin. But the fact is that the issuance of stablecoin has grown this year from 5 billion to 20 billions. And I think that next year the speed will be at least the same. If the cryptocurrencies was more just a testing of the idea, stablecoins usually are targeted to be used as the real payment method. And the third thing, I think the most impressive is the fact that as for now, 80% of central banks are already working on their own digital currencies, national digital currencies, called CBDC, central bank issued digital currency. And we see that almost every country has their own concept, how it should work. Some countries are much forward. For example, China already distributed their digital currency through the population, and it already works, and you can buy coffee in shop using digital yuan. Even in Russia, we have a concept of digital ruble that is actively discussed this year. I think that this use case is already validated, and I think everyone will agree that in 5-10 years, we will see that this technology is breakthrough to our everyday life. Next, going beyond the money, let me speak about asset tokenization. It's the second big use case that have some significant traction. What I mean by asset tokenization, it is digital and programmable representation for everything that has value to create programmable, transparent, and liquid markets. So what can be tokenized? I think everything, almost everything. At the left side, you see the list of type of the assets that are tokenizing right now. We already have spoke about money. But beyond the money, there are very interesting use cases. For example, tokenization of existing financial instruments. And I think here the most interesting is tokenization of the private equity. What the idea behind it? Today, if you have, for example, startup, I think it's the most actual case for our audience. To attract investments, you go to venture capital firms, or business angels, someone else, and they invest and buy your equity. This equity is illiquid, so they can't sell it until your business become large enough to go to the IPO and to go to and sell the shares to the public market. And to do it, you need to reach some significant scale, for example, about $1 billion of valuation. So we have very limited number of companies that are able to provide their equity shares to the public market, to everyone. If we tokenize these equity shares, and exclude all the intermediaries of this process. As I said, blockchain is always about excluding intermediaries. For example, underwriters, depositaries, and all the other participants of this IPO process. We can calculate that the process of going to public markets is becoming reachable for companies with much lower valuations and much lower revenues. For example, with the valuations about 10 or $100 million. So all these companies of such size can get access to the capital markets, and investors, early stage investors, will be able to get liquidity to their assets. I think it's one of the most promising cases, and it is developing very fast, especially in Europe and US. I have to mention that we should not mistake. It's not about ICOs because ICOs, initial coin offerings, it was only about blockchain space. Here we speak about general business that could be not related to blockchain. Other directions are also interesting. For example, tokenization of real estate allows person from, for example, Russia to buy 1% of equity in US top tier real estate and get rental income. And this person wouldn't need anything except for access to internet and his phone to do it. So if we tokenize all the financial markets, it will be much more efficient, much more faster, and more opportunities are coming. Beyond financial industry, as I said, almost everything could be tokenized. For example, metals, consumables, commodities, real world goods, or wide class of assets called redeemables. It's, for example, tickets for football match, and it's not just awards, it's a real use case. For example, maybe you know that when there was a world championship in Moscow, in Russia 2 years ago, part of the tickets were tokenized. And what's the idea behind it? The idea is to create a transparent secondary market where people can exchange their tickets, and the issuer will receive will participate in this process, and all this operation would be transparent. So there are many other ideas. Some of them I put on the right side, but since we have limited time, I will go to the next use case.
Okay.
The next thing, I think it's the most interesting space in this year and one of the most rapidly growing segments of whole technology world. It's called decentralized finance, or DeFi. And what it is? It is an idea to make all the financial relations programmable and open and transparent using blockchain. Any kind of financial relations, any kind of financial service could be described like a program and be written in the form of smart contract to exclude any counterparty risks, to make it more transparent. And since everything we are speaking about is completely global, exclude these transactional costs, I would say.
Okay.
This year, this space boomed from $1 billion size to $16 billion size, and it's really impressive. What is the reason of this? I think because two kind of financial instruments were successfully implemented in the form of code, in form of program. So as for now, you definitely can use decentralized finance to lend your money and earn some income, or to borrow money against some collateral. Usually it is collateral made of cryptocurrency. So if you have, for example, Bitcoin, you can use a completely decentralized network to lend, borrow, for example, dollars against this Bitcoin and save you exposure to digital assets. And at the same time, you will have liquidity for your operational needs. And the second case, which is successfully realized in the implemented in the decentralized space, it's the question of decentralized exchange. So how it works now? For example, if you want to exchange your euro to dollars in Moscow, for example, you have hundreds of cash exchange points or banks. Every of them has their own exchange course, price, fees, and so on. You need to find the right counterparty, and these prices would be different in different regions. And liquidity will be limited by the capacity of every particular venue. In the decentralized finance space, we have a global market where anyone who has access to internet can exchange asset A to the asset B without any intermediary, and he will have access to the whole liquidity of the whole world. So that's an example how markets could work in a much more efficient way. There are much more cases. I wouldn't mention all of them. They are actively developing and gain some traction. I think in next year we will talk about a list that is on the left side of my slide.
Okay.
And last but not least, area or even two areas that I want to mention. It's global concepts called self-sovereign identity and Web 3.0. It's different areas, but I decided to unite it in one slide, in one case, because they are very related to each other. So what is the concept of self-sovereign identity? It's could be described like a tokenization, but not of the assets, but tokenization of facts or documents.
Okay.
everyone has many facts and many documents. For example, I was born in 1992. I have graduated from some universities. I worked at some job. And all these facts are important, and I use it when I communicate with other people, with organization, with services. And how it works now. Issuers of these facts, for example, my university issue my diploma, they own this data. So if I want to prove somebody to that I have graduated from the university, I can do two things. I can show my paper diploma, but I think it's the less useful thing in the 21st century, paper certificates. And the second thing I can do, I can say that you can ask my university and they will confirm that I have graduated from it. Self-sovereign identity is the concept that we can tokenize facts, and issuers of such certificates will sign these tokens by their cryptographic signatures to make me able to use these facts anywhere and in the way I want to use it without revealing more information that I need. Very simple example. When I go to, for example, adult site, they asked my information to be sure that I'm adult. But in fact, they don't need to know my name. They don't need to know even the year I was born. They need just to know the fact that I have 80 years old. Or for example, when you go to apply for the visa, you need to provide a certificate from your bank that you have a positive balance higher than some number. And again, the embassy don't need history of your financial operations. They just need to check that you have more than one, for example, €1,000. And this technology allows to share information in this way, to provide only the facts. The wider, if we widespread this concept for the whole internet, we will receive something called Web 3.0. And what is it? What was the internet 1.0? It was the network where content was produced by the services. So we had websites of different newspapers, some portals, but all the content was produced by these websites. In the Web 2.0, the majority of the content is produced by the users. So it's the age of social networks, YouTube, and so on. And Web 3.0 is a concept of a next stage of internet development that will add the financial or ownership layer for the global network. And in this case, content not just produced by the users, but it's owned by the users. And users can get all the value that is generated by this content. So for example, right now, for example, Facebook, the most value of Facebook is produced by its users. It's content and behavioral data. And Facebook sells this behavioral data to advertisers to receive income, so it monetizes it. And end users who are generating this data and generate content and in fact generate value, they don't receive anything from this process. If we do the same social network in the decentralized way, the value generated by this data and this content will be controlled by the producers. So that's the idea. And maybe one thing more here to say, it's that also, there are still many companies that are working on distributed storage, distributed computations, distributed throughput capacity, and so on. So it's about Web 3.0, but it is still at the very early stage. But at the same time, we see many successful implementations of different parts of this global concept.
Okay, Eldar. Yeah, sorry for interrupting. It's just the question that we have. Actually, we have a lot of questions already, but I would like, as you're speaking about successful cases and prominent stories, so are there any successful cases in industrial blockchain implementation? Here is the question.
Yes, speaking about industrial blockchain, we usually speak about private or corporate blockchains. And the problem there is, as I said at the start of my speech, that in this case, we usually use only the first part of the value that technology brings. We use decentralization, but we don't create economic incentives. So on practice, I think in long term, the public blockchain approach is much more suitable. But there are a lot of different applications in industrial sectors, even with private blockchains. And usually it is all associated with coordination of counterparties and accounting. So key applications are supply chains and logistics. And here we know at least one very successful case. It's supply chain processing blockchain developed by IBM and Maersk. But I think almost every big company that have a lot of suppliers have some ideas in this space. Then the next case interesting is, I think, goods traceability, again about logistics. Energy and smart grid. Maybe you heard last or even this week, Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak has founded a new company that will apply blockchain technology to the energy markets. And the last field of the application that is quite popular here, I would say it's loyalty programs. Okay. So just an idea to tokenize loyalty points. For example, I don't know, Aeroflot miles to operate with such points, not as with just points, but assets that could be exchanged, that could be transferred, and so on.
Okay, and as you're talking about tokenization, and you talked a lot about this during the talk, so we have a question. How do you think, will other IT giants, such as Google, Facebook, and others, launch its own currencies?
Okay, it's a good question, a really good question. I don't think that any of them have to issue their own cryptocurrencies. We have enough of them. And the question why they need it. We so far we know about two cases when big successful corporates try to launch their own public cryptocurrency. It's Telegram and it's Facebook's Libra. Both unfortunately or fortunately were not very successful as for today. First of all, because of regulation issues, because for regulations and especially regulators, and especially for American Security Exchange Commission, it's affordable when some financial instrument like cryptocurrency is issued by the network itself without any particular issuer that have corporate nature. But it's another case when the issuer is the corporate that have a huge customer base like Facebook. and can affect the financial system very rapidly, because cryptocurrencies and all the instruments we're talking about are growing step by step, and these cases could be very fast. So I don't think that since we have two unsuccessful cases, I don't think that we should expect such cases in the nearest future, but nobody knows. And the second thing I would say that since we see that governments already are working on their own digital currencies, I think in several years there wouldn't be any space for private companies to issue their stablecoins. Except, of course, the pure cryptocurrencies that are unregulated and they have their own segment.
Okay, that's good that you mentioned the government side, because we had already also a question on this, so you answered actually the question, I think. And yeah, to sum it up, we have quite a lot of questions about Russian blockchain startups and Russian blockchain, let's say, tech landscape regarding blockchain. So probably we can sum up our today's meeting with some key insights on the Russian market.
Sure. So speaking about the Russian market, I wouldn't say that it's developing very fast. Of course, first of all, because of regulation, because in blockchain space, you have two types of companies. First of them develop protocols, and they are global by definition. So they could not be Russian or not Russian, they're global. And such companies are very actively developing even in Russia, and I will give some examples. And the second part, it's about the companies that build some kind of infrastructure like digital banks, custodians, and services for end users. And such companies are often need to be compliant. I would say usually always need to be compliant. And in Russia, our legislation isn't very crypto friendly, and you cannot operate such businesses in Russia. But fortunately, nobody haven't restricted for Russian citizens to get access to the foreign services. On the other hand, I would say Russian technical people are very active in the blockchain space, and as I feel it, every third, I would say, big blockchain company has Russians in their teams. And there is a number of very successful Russian startups with Russian origin. I have some stats on it that I calculated especially for our webinar. Let me show it.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. Here I give all the VC deals with the blockchain startups with a Russian origin, where most of the team, or at least founder or CEO, came from Russia. And it is about 2 last years. So we can see 10 successful cases. 10 successful companies that have attracted their funding from, I would say, top tier Western funds, including such giants like Andreessen Horowitz or Pantero Capital. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important and very good sign. I would mention one of these startups have attracted financial even 2 times this year, seed at August and Series A in December. It's a company called 1 Inch, guys from Moscow, Germany. So yes, Even with not very friendly regulation, I think Russian is a great space to look for new blockchain companies and new blockchain ideas.
Thank you. Thank you. Especially thanks for these statistics. So we have a unique content now to share. We have quite a lot of questions from our participants. And as you mentioned, we have quite a lot of startups, international ones and Russian ones as well, I suppose. So do you have any recommendations as an active investor in this area? Can you provide any recommendations for the startups with such technologies?
Yes, first of all, the startup need to understand what are they developing. Are they developing protocol or are they developing a service? This is two big different markets. In first case, it is much more simpler to go global and attract financing from even the crowd and professional investors, because such shares or such tokens are liquid from day one usually, and there is huge demand for such investments. In the second case, if the company create a service, it's much harder to get proper financing, especially in Russia. So usually you have to restructure your business in some countries with more friendly regulation. In Europe, for example, the simplest option is Baltic countries, very popular within Russian startups. So, and at the end of the day, you can write me. I would give my email. We are very open to Russian startups.
Okay, thanks a lot, Eldar. Actually, we have quite a lot of questions remained unanswered, but we are running out of time. So if you allow us, we will share your contacts with the participants.
Yeah,
so
sure.
they can, yeah. And if we have enough questions and if the subject is interesting for you, maybe we ask Eldar to make another series on this subject.
No problem.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your time and contribution. Yeah, we will follow up with the further information for our participants.